If you have ever looked at African masks, you might sometimes sort of see people making extraordinary sort of visuals that they wear over their faces, but I'm exposing my face on a mask I have created. Well, I haven't created it for that purpose, but it's kind of like a visual on Tube Speak, not News Speak, Tube Speak, YouTube Speak. I am exhibiting myself as do Africans who make masks, who try to actually, I think those masks are quite frightening quite often, and they fend off their, whatever it is, their adversaries. I think the masks are there for the most part to feel like they're able to fend off their adversaries by wearing external equipment over their genetic makeup. We look a certain way, but we have to augment it. Not very much different like the transhumanists. They have taken up that call. The transhumanists have taken up the call to augment ourselves, to fend off. Well, unfortunately, what they're fending off is our true creativity and nature. They're terrified of what's left of human nature. Anyway, this is a mask. Well, it wasn't made to be a mask, but it kind of felt like a mask. So I'm on Tube Speak. I'm on Tube Speak today. Once more, I'll continue to post. I know that most of the people that are posting that are of relevance to me get extremely low view counts. The more views you have, the more relevant you are. I'd like to remind anyone that's on this medium that the more views there are, the less relevant. So you can go through the scale. When a person has 5 views, they're probably the most relevant people on the planet. This is how I have understood this medium. And I want to just comment briefly on, through my augmented self, the African feeling. If you remember, if you look back at Cubism, you had a painter called Picasso who created a painting called Demoiselle d'Avignon. And these are very African feeling images of what appear to be figures. He would like to, he was a raving misogynist. Picasso was a raving misogynist. Why would he paint figures and call them women? The Demoiselle d'Avignon, which is an oblique reference or direct reference at prostitutes, and he used African. He actually based it on a photograph they discovered in a studio that had a similar configuration of women in a scene, and his influence came from that African side, that sort of what we call the dark continent, whatever that means to our lives. What does it mean to be living in a dark continent? Well, hello, we are on a dark reality. The projection that is we are going towards, we have embraced the peaceful atom. We have embraced the peaceful atom, and we have invoked, we need to have a lot more of this to protect ourselves against peaceful atom. If this were actually to work, I don't think it works. But you know, the natives that live on the so-called dark planet figured out that we need to protect ourselves against some very vicious adversaries that might be out there to chase them away. I wish I could chase them away with the work that I do. I would love to chase the Fukushima types away from our reality, but unfortunately it doesn't seem to work that way. So I am commenting on Tube Speak, what I see to be Tube Speak, and people are very disheartened on Tube Speak. I want to just say to the people that get very few views, don't be discouraged, because I'm just going to synopsize. I've said this before. I'm going to synopsize whatever hope there is for us, as in the sense of hope, longevity. I'm not saying like hope for you and me today and tomorrow. I'm saying like hundreds or thousands of years of hope will start right here, right now, because we're at a crossroad. I find myself feeling more and more that we're at a crossroad, that kind of feeling of Picasso painting the Demoiselle d'Avignon was clued in. Whether or not, you know, my own opinion of Picasso, he was quite fabulous. I mean, brilliant. The amount of work he produced was, I think it was close to 100,000 art images. If you include his prints and all of that, that is an enormous, incredible output. Nothing, you cannot discard this, no matter what I might feel about the person as a person. Like I say, he was a raving misogynist. Picasso's work is just inundated with punishing and pummeling the female. It is like it's like second nature. There were a snippet here and then he was involved with a lady called Françoise Gillot, and he had a bit of a romance for a short period of time, and he felt like a little softer, but that all went through down the tubes. If you read My Life with Picasso, François Gillot, I recommend it to give you a perspective of the artist that you admire. He was an asshole. He was a complete and total asshole, like all the other artists that model themselves after him, like the icons that are being exalted now, like Jeff Koons or Damien Hirst or Ai Weiwei, or all these brilliant people who are producing imagery that is so fundamentally flawed in terms of our nature. We're supposed to produce stuff like Africans understood to chase those evil spirits away, but they're all inviting them in. They're inviting in these dark forces that are in our that are surrounding us. And I'm laughing, okay. In my channel, when you come to me and I talk about this, you understand that my activism, my sense of being engaged in the world is primarily based on the idea that I understand we have unleashed a monster called the peaceful atom, or Fukushima, and the nuclear catastrophe escalating every day. What is my part in countering this? And I use my art. I use my art the best way I can. I conjure imagery that actually leads us to something that is more valuable to us than what has been propagated in history. You want to be on the winning team. You want to be with the, what are those guys that decimated nations with their magnificent tools, the tools of destruction, the ones that Da Vinci designed for the Count Milano for like 20 years. He designed weapons of mass destruction so the Count could eliminate people that he didn't like off the planet or defend himself against people. And you have institutions that are built around weapons of mass destruction, the way this is what government is these days. Governments are essentially institutions creating weapons of mass destruction. This is how we rule. Ruling, this is barbarian from the point of view that the only way you exist is by thinking you can annihilate someone else. This is degenerate. It's depraved. It's like, you see what I'm saying? Like, if we function within a society that somewhere they propagate the well-being of their population, but develop most of their resources are put into something that will destroy everything, it makes no sense. So as a painter, as a person, what I will address in my, as a person primarily, I want to find that part in myself which is the highest part of myself. This is something that we also expect for others to be involved in, as in governments, who are the watchdogs on what is called culture. Culture, yes, culture. I perceive this as a very wonderful possibility. Like Gandhi said, civilization would be a good idea when he stepped off the plane onto the tarmac and met Churchill, who said to Gandhi, "What do you think of civilization, Mr. Gandhi?" And Gandhi just hit him between the eyes and said it would be a good idea. So I say, I align myself in this sense with Gandhi, but that's about all there is, because Gandhi, it took a lot of money to keep Gandhi poor. So I understand his flaws as well, but there nonetheless, I mean, I would say there is an aspect to this person that I take something from and try to incorporate in my own life, the best part of me. So my comment today on TubeSpeak, people are very upset about the censorship and all that stuff. And I have actually considered just throwing in the towel on tube speak, but I'm going to continue as long as they allow me to post what I say. I will continue because I feel myself connected to a few people that are out there listening to what I have to say. And what I keep coming back to, and I see myself as very distinct in this aspect. I'm not like one of these people actually make quite a good living on this. When you look into the worst of them and the best of them, like you have a whole range of the Billy Grahams and the Swaggarts, and then you go into Dyer, this guy called, well, I forget, he was on PBS, talking about saying all the right things, but in their life acting the opposite. This always happens. But I don't have this affliction because I don't have a big following, and I don't get into the trap of being other than who I am. What you see, you know, the work I produce, like behind me, and you know, my quasi African mask construct. This looks actually like a little man with his hands and feet or something like that. I don't know, maybe it looks better this way. I'm not sure. You can sort of see it. Anyway, my idea about my contribution, and I encourage anyone to contribute to this tube speak from the point of view that if you have a vision, if you have an insight, if you have something that has connected deeply to your own nature, this is something very important to produce and to let other people in on. Not just the usual suspects getting to have their platform to propagate their culture, their insight, their civilization, what I basically refer to as a culture of death. There is no value in any of the things. There is not one thing around me that I would say is of value. And I'm talking now to my spiritual nature, to that part of me which searches for something that is not physical, something that makes me be able to communicate with you, to say words, to produce something that is called an artwork that has nothing to do with plumbing and construction and the physical world as we understand it. What is the nature within us that makes us be able to continue? And it's not plumbing, it's not buildings and bridges and trigonometry and all those kind of constructs that we associate so much importance to. What is the most original thing? What is the greatest achievement that the human race has produced in millions of years of existence? What is the greatest thing? This is what I ask myself, and I reflect, and I go through all the magnificent art that gives me incredible encouragement and impetus to make something as well for the rest of whoever is out there that is able to appreciate it. And my commitment, my commitment is fundamentally, primarily to myself and then to those around me. That is my commitment. And there's nothing wrong with that, people. It's not selfish whatsoever, because I'm looking for the part in myself that is the better part, the higher part of myself. I'm not an Aleister Crowley, doest thou wilt. I am part of something that makes, as I become better, anything or anyone that I come in contact with is better for it as well, not diminished or suffering from my contact. This is what I look for. Now, what is it that I can contribute to this experience? The highest part of myself. And here's what it is. And it's not like Picasso's Damoiselle d'Avignon or Velázquez Las Meninas, or even Goya, Saturn eating his children, which is brutal. I say, and I've always said this, that the greatest originality, that the most rare aspect of our existence in terms of you and me, humanity, like conscious, cognizant people who are aware of themselves and communicating, what is the highest part of ourselves? What is it that makes us unique and to each other? What part is that? And it is what I've always said, the greatest originality is to act your conscience, to be aware continuously that you're doing the right thing. Oh, that's a revolutionary idea, people. It really is. And you know what? It's interesting. I see my channel. It's so obvious. And I was rather self-deprecating on this. And I was thinking to myself, well, why can't I come up with some sort of greater notion about our existence and myself? There is no greater notion. There is no greater thing in being a human being than acting your conscience and doing the right thing, which involves others. It involves others. It's making other people feel that they're important, that they are important to me, to you. This is something so extraordinary in our ability that is being denied, that is being wiped out. There is a giant, there is an effort, there is a campaign to erase this notion within any one of us. We're always looking, we're the fortune hunters. We are wanting to be on the winning team. Well, the winning team has nothing to do with how you feel better in terms of your external world. It has to do with how we feel better inside. And this is a daily battle. And it's the most original, the most unique aspect of ourselves. Never mind the Picassos and all those brilliant minds, the Stephen Hawking's fantasy about black holes and the cosmos and all these fabrications and fantasies they produce for us to get involved in. We're going to go to Mars with Elon Musk on his Tesla car that's sitting in space. Yeah, right. Bunch of nutbags that we follow because we've lost touch with our birthright, and that is to be original. And the greatest, the most incredible originality that exists now in all of humanity is not inventions of any kind, whatever you want to call it. The most original way to be is to do the right thing and act your conscience. This is what I've said. And as a painter, I am qualified to have an opinion on originality. No matter how much you dislike or disagree or whatever, I have spent almost 50 years producing objects that are what I say to myself in retrospect, not when I do it, but I look back and I said, has this any significance in terms of the big picture, like all those other artists, like, you know, Warhol, Picasso, and Pollock, and everybody doing what they're doing? Is it beyond an idiosyncrasy? Does it have value? And the only thing I've realized, what is of true value in an artist producing anything, is if this is exalted in their work, that to remind us, whichever way they manage to do this, to remind us that there is a part in us that is so unique and brilliant and fabulous, expressed through the work that they're able to produce, that reflects this sense of originality in terms of conscience, to do the right thing. I don't know. I want to encourage people to keep posting. Anyone that is connected to this notion, whether it's through a conscious thought process or whether it's like something that just happens in our lives because we are who we are. There are just incredibly good people out there. They don't have to think about, oh, what do I do to do the right thing? No, some people are just like amazing. They are good people. Deep down, they are good people. And we have our struggles. Everybody has their struggle. But this is something that is being eliminated from our consciousness in society we live in. You know, the fortune hunters of the fortune hunters of fake. I'll call them the fortune hunters of fake, are always drawn into the most meaningless things. So pursuing anything that has no relevance on this level of originality, which is to do the right thing. It's the most original way you could be. Any person can be the most brilliant artist right now if you just do the right thing. This is what I say. We could turn this ship around real fast. It's too long. 20 minutes almost. I think I'll give it off. I'm just looking. Oh, I got an inbox. I actually posted on one of the attack dogs, who doesn't allow any comments to appear on their channel. I've just seen an inbox. I commented on it, and I got a nasty return. And all those attack dogs out there, karma is a bitch. I'll have to remind you, karma is a bitch. There's nothing I can say to change you most likely. But I say karma is a bitch. And for one, I have a romance with eternity, and I'm not going to kiss off on this notion. I have a romance with eternity. There is a structure. There is an unknown structure that we are a part of, that we are subservient to. And I say karma is a bitch, you attack dogs.